Hello Star Wars fans, this is an action figure review. It's actually a used action figure because I stopped collecting action figures a while ago. But I did a review well, I shared a bunch of my display cases and then I thought, what's going on in the action figure world? I've also been collecting some weird looking deformed vehicles, and then I discovered there's a bunch of deformed action figures. This one is a Thor by Bandai Gashapon. So it seems as though I'm on a bit of a deformed figure kick nowadays. Here's a deformed Obi-Wan from the same series. So this is the one of the action figures I played with as a kid, I actually bought this off eBay though. I probably had like 5 of these as a kid and they're all buried in my parents' old backyard. But this one actually is dated from 1979, so it looks like the kind of figure I played with a whopping 5 points of articulation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what kids had to play with a long time ago. If you're a kid today, you have it made. I mean, action figures are awesome these days. Alright, so this figure, I think it came out a while ago, like at least 5 years ago. I might be wrong. But let's take a look at this thing here. It's made by Herocross. And there's a bunch of other videos on this figure. It seems to have a metal frame, and then they put plastic pieces on it so they can share the same frame across different characters. Alright. Alright, so it comes in a giant blister. The back blister has this light up base. So this peg has a hard time actually going in this wow, I don't know what the deal is, but that's really difficult. Boy, that's extremely difficult. Well, one thing for sure, that thing is not going to fall out easily. So this is like a tampo printed badge here. I forget what this thing is called. Boy, sorry, please leave a comment. And then I'm gonna assume you can twist this. Yeah, okay, so you can grab his waist with this thing here. Alright, so now let's look at what the main deal here. So, how tall is this guy? He seems around the same height as a 6-inch or 12 scale action figure. His helmet is around 13.5 centimeters or 5.25 inches, somewhere in that ballpark. But then with the rangefinder, he's almost 6 inches tall or 15 centimeters, somewhere, if that matters to you. Okay, the rangefinder does move. That's pretty neat. And then let's start with the accessories, actually. So we got Boba's gun here. It's nicely weathered, actually. Let me get some better light and a better angle here for these accessories. Yeah, there's a paint wash here showing its age. The barrel, though, is quite warped. It's not very straight. This thing seems to be made of plastic, but pretty rigid plastic, very unlike a Hasbro. So it would be hard to, well, I guess you could take a heat gun or maybe put this in hot water and maybe bend that back straight. Frankly, I'm too lazy to do that. It's close enough for me that I'm not going to bother. Okay, so then we have a bunch of hands here. We got some, maybe this is for the front of the rifle for him to hold, right? An open hand or a waving hand. This is your trigger finger, or maybe he could be scratching his head thinking. Another open hand for the other side, and another trigger finger for the other side. So yeah, it's too bad. It would be nice if he had like a thumbs up or a pointing finger. But these are pretty much mirrored hands. And then the guy has just fists on him. I'm not sure if this is the way he originally came. Again, this is a used figure, so I'm not sure how much it was displayed or messed about with. Alright, so let's see about some of these pieces. Does this backpack come off? I feel like that's glued in. So the head articulation here. So you can definitely swivel, look left and right, and then you can tilt this head back a little bit, although the rocket does get in the way. Tilt side to side, so it seems like there's a ball joint up in there. Oh, look at this. It's actually a giant ball joint on top of a smaller dumbbell ball joint, I think. Yeah, so this moves a little bit. Yeah, so clearly not much range, which is understandable for a cartoon, a deformed character like this. Let's see what this is. This is a little bit flexible, the shoulder pad, so you can get his arm. You can stretch his arm up, but the shoulder pad wants to move it back down. Same here. So it seems like the shoulders are running ball joints as well. Okay. On the hand, yeah, it's going to be a ball as well. Okay. So this is the plastic piece unique to Boba Fett. But they share this frame, I believe, with other characters like Darth Vader and Stormtroopers, and they just basically have different molded pieces that slide onto this skeleton. Yeah, so I think they have other characters with they're supposed to look more like stick figures, so they might not even have pieces at all covering this skeleton. Okay, so that's a little alarming. I twisted this ball, and then this thing parted open. So that's very, very scary, actually. I would hate to have this break. But, okay, so you can definitely rotate that. And then there's a hinge here for the elbow. Okay. Seems as though this is a separate piece. The armor that he's wearing. So it's not glued in place. I'm going to guess you could actually, with some heat, take this off and then actually remove this. Alright. He's got those little tassels. I forget what the story was on these. So please leave a comment if you know. I think it has, some sort of trophies or something from animal kills. I don't know. Okay, so the waist here is a peg on the bottom part with a ball, and then the torso is rotating on that ball. So again, being a cartoon, he doesn't have as much articulation as you would expect from a more realistic figure, but it's endearing. That's why I like this thing. It looks like a deformed character. Alright, so this belt piece, this cod piece or whatnot, can rotate and move up and down a little bit. The legs here, there's a hinge, and it can rotate. But the pad here, this pocket is getting in the way of that leg from sweeping up very far. So, yeah. Alright, so again, all these pieces are separate and on top of the skeleton. So now let's try to see what's going on with the, oh, look at this. So there's a screw holding that together, so I'm sure you could adjust the tension of the hinge. And then I think there's a hinge here for the leg. You can see it peeking through, but there's very little, play due to the fact that the pieces on top of the skeleton are so tight together. Alright, so the foot, seems like there's another ball down here. Yeah, it looks like a sphere, right? So you can get a decent amount of poses there. Alright. Oh boy, look at this. So this is the problem with a used figure. This thing's broken. Did I just break that? I'm gonna have to rewind. Did that fall off in the video? So that's too bad. Be mindful of that if you pick one of these up. That's a sensitive part. I'm gonna have to crazy glue that thing back on later. I'm wondering if these things can rotate. Nope. I don't think they can. No, can't come out. That's just permanently in place, so that's too bad. Alright. So let me put this some of these pieces back on. Seems like this is pointed upwards. I think if you want to get good articulation, you want to separate, you want to have as much of a gap as possible, otherwise the arm won't bend. So I'm jamming that way up in there, and now get this gauntlet as far down as I can, and now I can get about that much of a bend in the elbows. Trying to line up the seam with the center of the hinge joint there, and then maybe that could get a little better. Nope, didn't make a difference. So now I'm seeing here in the shoulder there's also a screw there, so I could probably adjust the tension of that joint. So that's good to know. I didn't see any sort of way to adjust the tension here though on the elbow. So, oh, this cape. So there's a peg here for this cape, and the cape is plastic. Alright, simple enough. Seems like I put the wrong hands on, according to this photograph. He's right-handed, but in the interest of time, I'm going to ignore that and just try. Yeah. What I'm trying to do is get him to grab the front end of this weapon, but I just don't see how it's possible. If anyone's been able to do it, please let me know. But for now, I think Boba looks pretty good. Okay, after a good 30 minutes, I did manage to get him in a, well, you'll see how the best pose I could pull off, but I discovered that this thing actually has a micro USB port, and there were no batteries in this. There still aren't any batteries in it, but you can actually light it up just off the cable. Might be hard to tell because it's in a bright photo booth, but if I hold it upside down, you can see a decent amount of light coming through, and it's nicely diffused, you know, because it's clear plastic. Well, it's not really clear, it's translucent, you know. Maybe it's sandblasted on the backside, I don't know, but pretty nice. No need for batteries. So unfortunately this stand also is pretty much worthless. This figure, being a metal skeleton, or half of it's at least metal, it's really heavy. So these tongs here are not really long enough to grab his torso properly, and so also the weight just makes him want to splay out, and then he wants to fall out because there's no way to adjust the tension of the tongs themselves. It's just a friction fit. So I wouldn't recommend you try to display this guy using this thing because he's just going to fall out. But for a temporary action, well, we can try. So here he is. You know, I try to mimic this flight pose, you know, from Return of the Jedi before he died in the Sarlacc pit there. This is by Bandai. It's SH Figure Arts, and it's much better for the articulation, of course, because it's simply engineered better. But this is being a cartoon, those sacrifices have to be made where it looks like a cool cartoon, but there's not enough gap, you know, in the joints for it to get those poses. Alright, so I just have to say, you know, the actual paintwork on this thing is really nice. You can, you know, see the weathering effect here. It's just, this weathering is really, it's like blue, silver, red in that order, I think, of how it was painted. So it gives it a chipped paint effect. Here it's green with silver on top, I think. But anyways, I like it. And I don't know, you know, how much this was played with, because the hands look really dirty, but it doesn't really matter how dirty the thing is, because Boba Fett's just a dirty character. So I think it works out, you know. Even if buying this used, it's still gonna just add more patina and make it look nicer. Alright, so I will try to get it up here on this rotating display, but don't be surprised if it falls off. Let's see. Also, I found that, you know, even though I unscrewed the tension on here, the plastic very often limits. See, this arm is colliding right there, so this arm can't go any further down. This arm can go a little further back, and this one has free range all the way, but I was trying to get it so the distribution of weight is, you know, more, it's not cantilevered as much. That's what I'm trying to go for as far as my wording. So you can see the tongs or the fork arms here. They're just not very long, so it doesn't want it can't grab the larger part of his torso. I first tried down here. It's really hard. Well, no, that's just gonna fall out. I know it, but so then later I found the best place to even attempt to do this is just to jam it up here underneath his armor. But okay, we'll see. Let's see how well this can hold. But now he's like facing too far downwards, because his head can't, his head can't angle backwards because the rocket is in the way. Let me get this one out. Okay, so in summary, it's a cool figure, but it's really meant to just pose in a more generic position, and you probably want to avoid trying to have the guy fly. But the weathering is nice, and I think it's a really cool looking character. I do love the Boba Fett, so there we go. Let's get this out. That does flip down, so it covers it up. So there's a more generic stance. So most likely that's how I'm going to display this figure. I don't want to break any more pieces off like that rocket booster. Alright, well, there's the Darth Vader. I'm going to get that one, even knowing the faults of this particular line of figures, Herocross. For me it's okay because I have, the Bandai ones. So if I want to have more action poses, I'll just pose those. These are just meant to look like cartoons, and so that's okay for me. Alright, Star Wars fans, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.